Latest figures by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, show that 573 persons in Nigeria tested positive for coronavirus in the last 24 hours. The progression of the virus in communities can be reduced, if not eradicated, if majority of Nigerians adhere strictly to the guidelines on restrictions imposed by government. Although there is no clear treatment for COVID-19, the highly anticipated vaccine remains an aspiration. What with other efforts being introduced to the campaign against COVID-19, cases continue to rise. So, where do we go from here? Experts believe that all attention must be geared towards self-help remedy, which will ensure individuals take the responsibility of keeping coronavirus at bay. How can this be achieved? This is the focus of our discussion on Panorama, coming to you live from Lagos Network Center. I am Ruth Ario Samuel. Thanks for being here. We begin with some news. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has made a passionate appeal to Nigerians to promptly report cases of rape and gender-based violence in the country as part of their contributions towards putting an end to the dreaded scourge. This was while addressing newsmen after being summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari over the worrisome situation across the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Although rape is not a new phenomenon in Nigeria's crime history, but the alarming increase in cases of the dreaded scourge in recent times, especially during the COVID-19 lockdown, leaves much to be desired.
The Nigeria police so far from January 2020 till May 2020 recorded about 717 rape incidents that were reported across the country. 799 suspects were so far arrested, with 631 cases conclusively investigated and charged to court. And we have 52 cases that are remaining under investigation.
And this worrisome development informed IGP Mohammed Adamu's summon by President Muhammadu Buhari for briefing. The meeting is a follow-up to the resolution by the Federal Executive Council to do whatever it takes towards stopping the heinous acts and bringing perpetrators to justice. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors were not made public, but the IGP, joined by the Ministers of Information and Women Affairs, told newsmen that the Nigeria Police is prepared to collaborate more effectively with other security agencies and NGOs towards ensuring that cases of rape and gender-based violence are dealt with appropriately.
Just to tell you that government is doing something seriously to curtail this. I will call on every Nigerian that has or comes across any victim of sexual offenses, of rape or gender-based violence to quickly report to law enforcement agents, because keeping it without reporting it will give room for the perpetrators to continue to commit the offenses. It is a very serious offense. It is very wicked of an individual to engage in rape or defilement. Some are doing it for ritual purposes. Some are doing it because they sit within the family and they see the victims and they feel the urge to go into it and do it. But such people should not be allowed to go scot-free.
He expressed formal appreciation to NGOs and civil society organizations that have the capacity to deal with such offenses for supporting law enforcement agencies in the area of capacity building to effectively manage victims of rape and gender-based violence in Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
To the military, the Nigerian Army General Court-Martial, headed by the Chief of Training and Operations, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, has pronounced former GOC 8th Division, Nigeria Army Sokoto, Major General Hakim Otiki, guilty of 5-count charge punishable under Section 66A of the Armed Forces Act laws of the Federation. Francis Form reports that the sentence is subject to confirmation by the confirming authority.
The former general officer commanding 8th Division, Sokoto, was accused of stealing 100 million naira. The money was part of the 160 million naira released to the division by the Nigerian Army as Special Army Release Funds for execution of project in the 8th Division. Delivering judgment on the matter, President of the Nigerian Court-Martial, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, said the court found General Otiki guilty of all the 5-count charges punishable under Section 66A of the Armed Forces Act, laws of the Federation. He thereafter pronounces the court's decision.
Count 5, 2 years loss of seniority on the rank of Major General. Count 3, reduction to the rank of Brigadier General with 2 years seniority on the rank. Count 2, sentence, dismissal with disgrace and dishonor.
Counsel to General Otiki reacts to the judgment.
It was confirmed that the soldiers robbed. He was not the one. Even the 100 million was returned even before the investigation by the SIB. He was the one who reported the test. So all these ones, we will put them together as mitigating factors before the Army Council.
The judgment of the court-martial is subject to the ratification by the confirming authorities. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika has suspended the operation of executive jet services and the pilot that flew popular entertainer Naira Marley for a concert in Abuja last Saturday. Emmanuel Ayemiro reports that the suspension follows the breach of approval for the private jet to convey Justice Adefope Okige on a return flight from Lagos to Abuja on a later date, but was fraudulently used.
A journalist at the Presidential Task Force in Abuja to clear the air concerning the breach of approval, the Aviation Minister said the details of the letter by the Executive Jet Services was for an approval for essential services which the judiciary applied for and not to convey Naira Marley.
The document also that we give the control tower for approval is also here. The operation is a clear violation of our approval, to which we take very seriously. So Executive Air Services operations are hereby suspended indefinitely. We will also fine them maximally according to the law. The captain of the flight will also be sanctioned for giving wrong information to the control tower.
Sirika was quick to advise the public that the approval for essential flights is only in accordance with PTF COVID-19 protocols and that government will not condone actions that undermine national interests.
We will put up mechanisms in place or escalate the mechanisms that we have in place to deter people from doing so, and it also means there will be stricter in our approvals, and whoever dared us will meet the consequences.
Meanwhile, Jabi Lake Mall, the venue of the concert in Abuja, has since been sealed off by the FCT Task Force. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
And to some COVID-19 stories, the 150-bed ultra-modern General Hospital in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State, meant for the treatment of COVID-19 patients, is now operational. Kingsley Okoro reports that the facility is one of the 13 hospitals earmarked to serve the health needs of the people at the rural area.
While inaugurating the COVID-19 treatment center, emphasized that the government is working hard to renovate all the 13 general hospitals to serve as treatment center for coronavirus. Equipped with the state-of-art facilities for the treatment of COVID-19, Governor Umahi stressed that the state has treated and discharged 86 COVID-19 patients across the state.
It's a complete general hospital, can perform any function. But for this COVID, we relocated the few patients here. And then we have turned this one into a COVID, treatment center. We intend to do that for the entire 13, general hospital. We also intend to have 3 testing centers in Ebonyi State. We intend to have one more in the central and the one in the south.
And we have tested over 3,000, samples, and of which 182 samples came out positive. And we have so far discharged 86 patients.
Certified by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control for the treatment of coronavirus, the center also has the necessary facilities to accommodate the health workers. In Abakaliki, Kingsley Okoro, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported 573 new cases of COVID-19. Lagos has 216, Rivers 103, Oyo 68, Edo has 40, Kano 21, Gombe 20, the FCT has 17, Delta 13, Plateau and Bauchi have 12 each, Kebbi 9, Ogun and Ondo 8, Abia 7, Nasarawa 5, while Borno, Kwara, Benue and Anambra states have 1 case each. As at June 15, 2020, Nigeria has 16,658 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with 5,349 discharged patients and 424 deaths on record. Lagos still remains the state with the highest number of COVID-19 cases in the country, with 7,319, followed by the FCT with 1,264, then Kano with 1,158. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has warned state governments against reopening schools contrary to its guidelines, saying it would be premature to do so amidst the raging COVID-19 pandemic. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, who gave this warning at Monday's briefing in Abuja, urged all Nigerians to consider themselves henceforth as frontliners in the fight against COVID-19. Mitaire Ikben reports.
As the nation's health authorities battle to flatten the curve of COVID-19 community transmission, the Presidential Task Force observes that efforts are being undermined by continued breach of its guidelines and protocols on personal hygiene and social distancing.
Lifted restrictions does not mean carelessness and that life is back to normal. We have received reports that some states are contemplating the opening of schools, television viewing centers, sports stadiums, and other places where large gatherings could take place. The Presidential Task Force reemphasizes that it is not yet safe to do so.
The case fatality rate remains at about 3%, which is lower than many countries, but not a cause for relief.
That the supermarket in Abuja decides to do a concert doesn't make it compulsory for people to attend.
The task force emphasized that private sector donations are managed privately and not by the PTF.
We then have a special intervention fund. That special intervention fund, as approved by Mr. President, is specifically for the purpose of COVID-19. We have only spent 0.02% of that. Most of it went towards the evacuation, towards the accommodation of Nigerians that were brought in the last few weeks.
It also announced the resumption of evacuation of Nigerians abroad, with strict adherence to the revised protocols, which include compulsory pre-boarding test for intending evacuees.
The capacity that we're looking at is for 500 people a week for Lagos, 500 in Abuja.
WHO country representative said the global health body was misconstrued on whether asymptomatic patients are contagious or not.
We need more research to estimate the extent of asymptomatic transmission.
Meanwhile, the PTF says a 3-year health sector COVID-19 response plan is being developed by the Federal Ministry of Health as a roadmap for the years ahead. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
This is Panorama coming to you from the Lagos studio of the NTA. We pause here for a break. More reports when we return.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thanks for staying with us. As economies reopen in phases, self-protection to prevent coronavirus becomes the workable options to stop further spread. Experts insist that the remedy is at the fingertips of individuals and compliance is a matter of urgency. Our guest is a clinical researcher, Professor Chidi Njamenzi. Welcome to Panorama.
Thank you. Welcome, Ruth.
Let's begin on this note. COVID-19 cases are on the rise in Nigeria. As a clinical researcher, are you worried?
Well, it is the rise in cases is a result of the effective testing which is going on, and we expect that when there is a community spread, the cases will rise and they are being effectively detected. So, as much as it raises some concern, it is a good thing that we are now testing more and finding out those who are positive of the coronavirus.
I'm talking about rising cases. Is it true that the cases are increasing because of the rainy season? Hello, Prof.
Yes, please.
Did you get my question? Is it true that the cases are rising because of the rainy season?
Oh, okay. I couldn't get that last, what you said now. Could you repeat?
Sure. Is it true that cases are rising because of the rainy season?
Well, not really, because if there's anything, though, of course, the rainy season compels you to stay more indoors than outdoors, but the important thing here is if you test more, Wednesday you have a community
What proactive measures should Nigerians adopt to prevent getting infected?
Yes, of course, with the vaccine very remote, most likely because of the high levels of mutations. We already have 13 mutations just in China during this disease, so you can't really have one vaccine that will come for all the strains that are possible. So we cannot put our hope on vaccines. Most likely, even if we have one, they might not be effective for every type of strain. So what we need to do is a very simple thing. Our great-grandmothers taught us that still work today as a major paradigm in medicine. When people suspect that they have symptoms that really they suspect themselves to also be related to the general symptoms we've been talking about COVID, like coughing, high fever, sneezing, they can do very simple things. You just boil hot water, put it in a bucket, put it before you, and cover yourself with a blanket. Just leave somewhere air can be entering, and stay there for 5 minutes. That's still English. The whole thing our grandmothers. You don't need to add anything to the water. You don't need to add any menthol or leaves or anything like that. But just the steam, because we know that when you do that, the humidity in your entire airway will rise to 90-100%, and the temperature will be probably to some extent above 40-80 degrees. And once that happens, every COVID or virus that is within the airway just dies off. That they are just eliminated. So should it be that if you have the virus, then they eliminate it. If you don't, it still does not hurt, because what this will be inhalation will do, and it makes it being high. So the small hairy cells we call cilia that actually propel air in the whole respiratory tract, we start working effectively. And you almost instantaneously start feeling better. And if you have the symptoms, if you do this every 6 hours, that's about 4 times a day, you will become significantly. And because the aim now is to keep the viral load down in individuals who come across the virus. So if we keep the viral load down, the people don't break down with the disease. And I think if we can achieve that, very simple measure, just like I described.
Prof. Hello, Prof. Hello. We sincerely apologize for the poor audio quality in that interview. To other stories, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reiterated the commitment of his administration to massively invest in quality education during the COVID-19 period. This is with the aim of improving e-learning and guarantee a brighter future for the younger generation. Nosa Osula has details.
Schools across the world are getting creative with online options to keep students safe and healthy at home. This, according to residents, is a welcome development as it gives pupils and students who may be new to virtual teaching and learning to acquaint themselves with same.
In advanced countries, that is the essence of open university, or what we call distant learning. So it has been part and parcel of the education system globally. So for that we are also catching up on it, I think it's a credit.
With schools still shut across the state due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu explained that government is deploying devices that would be useful to keep school children busy and focused on their studies, while stakeholders in the education sector meet to agree on protocols for reopening of schools.
We need to aggressively improve the quality, the learning outcomes of our education, but we needed to do it using technology as a strong enabler for that to happen.
The governor assured residents that the state government would spare no effort to improve the learning and teaching environment in schools across the state. In Lagos, Nosa, Osula, NTA News.
A report just coming in says that the embattled governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has formally resigned his membership of the governing All Progressives Congress. The governor made the decision known at a news briefing after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari. Governor Obaseki was recently disqualified from participating in the forthcoming APC governorship primary election due to what the governing party called discrepancies in his credentials. It's been a pleasure having you on Panorama today. Do stay